Hello, everyone. So, we are going to be talking about your immune system. And yesterday you had looked at videos and looked at vocab words. And today we're going to be reviewing some of those, but we're going to be specifically looking at how your immune system responds. So, that means whether you scraped your knee and you're bleeding, or you have a paper cut and you're bleeding, whatever, or you even have a bacteria or a virus. How does your immune system respond to those things to keep you healthy? So this PowerPoint that we're going to go through, you have access to, and then you'll see throughout this that I have underlined green words. If you click those words, it'll take you to a slide with the definition and a little bit more information. So for example, your immune system, click on that, and it'll give you the definition and then just a little bit more information about that. And then you have to go all the way back. I haven't figured out everything yet. Okay. So your immune system obviously is made up of many cells, tissues, and organs. We are not going to be going into every single organ, tissue, or cell. They all work together to help heal your body. So basically, your immune system has just three main functions: detect anything that's bad, remove those bad things, and then record or remember those bad things in case they infect your body again. So instead of, your immune system is so complex. It's really interesting and it's really cool to study. We just don't have the time to go into it, unfortunately. So we're going to be looking at the response. And the way that we have broken this down is basically just put it into three different levels. So your first level, which is pretty broad, that's a response for anything, whether you scraped your knee again or have bacteria. Second level starts to get a little bit more specific, and the third level is really targeted towards that specific illness. So before we go into that, we are going to look at this really talented drawing I have of a castle. Why? So we would like to think of it, this castle, as your body. So your body has different levels of defenses, and so does this castle. Notice this nice little son with sunglasses. Too cool for school. Okay, so we're looking at a castle. Right. Why? Why are we looking at a castle? So to study the levels of defense that our body has, we like to use an analogy of this castle. So we're going to be looking at how this castle defends itself from invaders. So first off, it's got these huge walls. It's got a big door. But I'm also going to add, a little moat. I don't like that. Okay. I'm going to add this moat or water that will hopefully prevent anyone from getting near my castle here. That's nice. And then you know what, too? I'm going to add a little more water over here. And let's do, just to really ward off people or invaders, people or bacteria, whatever they're going to be. Let's draw this alligator here. Little spikes there and his little tail. Okay. Great. Doesn't That's great. That's great. Okay. And then also too, many people, let's get a little, we don't need everything to be doom and gloom in our moat. Let's do a little duck here. Let's see if I can. I know you're wondering what the heck. Just hang on. Trying to make a mallard here. I think that's That's pretty good. You can, I'm on paint. Oh, you know what? Let's do there. Eating some food? Great. Okay. So I've got a moat. I've got my castle walls. I've got my door. I look pretty secure right now. That I would say is probably my first level of defense here. Is that I have the castle wall, the castle door, and this moat. Nothing's getting past that, right? So let's go back to okay. Okay. So I have the trees as well. So now that we have this drawn, I'm going to label our barriers here. This is part of our first barrier. This is a part of our first barrier in this one. So we have door, the castle walls, and this moat. These are all, I would say, like your first barrier to prevent things from entering that castle. So let's try to go back to that PowerPoint. Oh boy, there we go. Oh, get it. Okay, that was a journey. All right, so our first level of defense, what is it? Oh, it's barriers on your body, like your skin and your mucous membranes. Some other examples might include like your stomach acid, your body hair. A lot of things actually get caught like on your body hair, like you think of your nose hairs. That's why you have nose hairs, to prevent things from going up your nose. And then you also have tears and sweat that flush things out of your body as well. So, what are they doing? They're preventing antigens from entering your body. So, hopefully, everyone recognizes Um, well, everyone recognizes this kid over here. It's Kevin McAllister, Home Alone, no big deal. If you don't know him, no big deal. So, a lot of people right now are saying, don't touch your face. I'm actually trying to avoid touching my face right now. It's very hard to do, right? I mean, you can count how many times you touch your face in a day, it's millions. So, pathogens, they can't pass through your skin, but they can enter through your mouth, nose, or eyes. And since it's so hard to avoid touching those parts. That's why people say just don't touch your face. If obviously it's really hard to, I've already touched my face several times throughout just the past 30 seconds. That's why it's so important to wash your hands properly because inevitably you're going to touch your face with your hands. So just wash your darn hands so you don't have to worry about it. So, as a reminder, mucous membranes, we have those covering the surface of your body structures. A lot of your digestive tract is covered in mucous membranes, and also your tongue has mucous membranes too. And then antigens, of course. So, anything that's on the surface of a pathogen that can be detected by their white blood cells. So, first level for us, skin and mucous membranes. And for that castle was like the wall, right? The outer barrier that protects everything. Well, what if something did get through? Let's say you touched your face and you had a bacteria or virus and it did enter your mouth and now it's past the first barrier. So, what does that look like? Well, going back to our castle, let's say, oh gosh, I don't know. Maybe we'll make this. And he's gonna have like just um there we go. Okay, so that's our pathogen just breaking through. He's like I love to swim. Moats don't scare me. I don't care about moats. And he just passed right on through. So now what? What happens now? Well, this castle has an alarm system. So that alarm system, oh gosh, looks like kind of like this. Okay. So I've got this guy is like just ready to see anything. And he's got, let's just make him have, he's got binoculars and he's got some sort of horn. That alert, oh gosh, that alerts everyone. Okay, what is this? Okay, let's just do that. That's great. That's the horn. Okay. So he is just yelling out to everyone like there's this pathogen here, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. And then, there's let's be honest, there's probably just tons of security alarms inside that are alerting people and maybe, just of all different types, just letting everything in this castle know that there's something going on. So this is your second level of defense here in the castle, is your security. It's your alarm. This guy right here. I'm gonna give him a hat. Right. He's just like a security guard. Pretty chill though. No uniform needed. All right, so what does that look like in our body? The second barrier. What does that look like? For the most part, to simplify it, they would consist of histamines. What are histamines again? So they're chemicals that communicate with other cells to start a whole big immune response. And they get kind of a bad rap because they're associated with allergies as well. We'll get into that a little bit later. But for right now, know that they are communicating with other cells to start a response. So they actually increase your blood flow to a specific area. So if you like, let's say, for example, if you ever got like a splinter and you didn't really notice it for a while until later, until you felt it and it started to swell, your histamines were signaling your body to increase blood flow to that area. So that's called an inflammation. So inflammation, you're going to experience swelling, redness, heat, maybe a little bit of pain. And what that is doing is just alerting all these cells, bringing blood together so that it's all centralizing this one area that it receives the threat or the splinter or whatever is going to happen. So your histamines, although they get a bad rap and they kind of cause some side effects like these that aren't that great, they are trying to help your body respond to this threat. So fevers, they're not necessarily a bad thing or a bad sign, rather. Of course, you have to monitor them and make sure they don't get too high because that's when they actually cause a lot of damage. But a fever is a sign of sickness, but it's a sign that your body is responding. It's way better to have a fever and swelling to show that your body's responding than nothing at all and having whatever's inside your body just take over, right? So let's go back to our castle. So our histamines are the second level defense, and our castle here, our security guard, is now alerting everyone saying there's this crazy looking pathogen. He's crossed the moat. He's nearly here. Okay. So now, what have we got for our third level of defense for our castle? We have this. Let's see what this looks like. No, no. Let's maybe he's like peering from the corner. So okay. Hopefully you can kind of get what I'm doing here. But if not, hey, I get it. You know, even if I wasn't in paint, this would not be that great. So, gosh, what direction? Oh, shoot. I think that's. Oh, boy. All right, that's about as good as you're going to get. So, we've got this ninja who also bow hunts. So, he's pretty talented. Okay. So, we have our first ninja here. I also added some ninjas just coming out of the tree. And then we have this ninja here who is without weapon, but he's got a lot of heart and soul. And he is just ready to attack this invader. So that's part of our third level of defense. What we also have in this third level of defense are some rather intelligent castle folks who, instead of fighting, are. I'm going to just draw, maybe I can draw some glasses. So they're writing down what this invader looks like. For just information, just he's gathering information. And then we have another person here who's actually, let's see if I can do this, who is taking a picture, and I I am drawing a legit camera, I realize, and not really like a phone, but he's old fashioned. It's a castle, for Pete's sake, right? So he's taking a picture. You know what, let me just really get the flash, accentuate the flash there. There. Great. It's got a flash. That's pretty darn good. So we have our cells that are fighting off the pathogen, and then we have our cells that are remembering what this pathogen looks like. So this is actually our third level of defense. So we have our ninjas, this guy, we have that guy, we have this guy. These are all part of our third level of defense there. So what does that look like in our body? Well, it includes specific cells that are fighting the specific antigens. So white blood cells, antibodies, and memory cells. These are the cells that are detecting, they're removing, and they're remembering the antigens. So this is one type of white blood cell, and it's actually chasing this little tiny bacteria. These are just your normal everyday body cells. There's actually a video here that let's see if there we go. So and you can kind of see this cell is really moving fast. So this type of white blood cell, it's actually called a neutrophil, can move 10 times as fast as other cells. Oh, I got it. Good job. But, you know, when I first watched this, I was like, oh my gosh, when is he going to when is it going to actually eat this thing? But what it's actually doing that we can't see is that the antigen on this bacteria acts like a puzzle piece. And so when they finally lock in, then that's when they actually engulf it. So there's way more complexities that are going on with this that we just can't get into. And there's also all these different types of white blood cells that for this class, we're just not going to get into knowing what every single thing does. But that right there was actually a neutrophil. It's super cool to learn about. If you're into cells. I get it, some people aren't. What are you going to do? But just know that your third level of defense, move this, is white blood cells and your antibodies. So your antibodies are actually created by the white blood cells. And antibodies kind of act like those puzzle pieces. They are the ones that actually fit in to the puzzle, to the antigen, to either crack open the cell membrane and destroy it, or they mark it like a red flag and they let other cells know to kill the antigen if they can't actually kill it. Okay, so next, buckets. Okay, so next we have our memory cells. So our memory cells, you remember, are these characters in our castle that are recording every movement of this pathogen, of this invader. So they want to know everything about it so they can alert the immune system what's going on when this pathogen enters the body the second time. So our memory cells are cells that learn to recognize antigens and alert the immune system. So let's look at this graph here. I just want to move this. Oh, yeah. No, I want to keep options. Oh, forget it. Okay, that's fine. We're fine. So looking at this graph, we've got time, we've got antibodies made. It's when it says log scale, it means logarithmic. We don't have to really get into that, just to give you some sort of scale for how many antibodies we're talking about. So this red dot right here that I'm circling is when the virus enters the body. So you can see the virus enters the body, and then just about at 10 days, we start to see antibodies being made to try and fight this virus. So you can see antibodies are being made, and then a certain number is made. It looks like they start going down, and it's, gosh, from 10 days to until the second virus, about 40 days, there's antibodies present in this person's system, and it's fighting off that virus. Well, the second time this virus enters this person's body, you can see the amount of time that it takes in order to reach this number of antibodies is way shorter. So the first virus took 10 days. Within 10 days of the second time that this virus enters the body, the same virus, we've now got 100 times more antibodies in a lot shorter time. And that is thanks to the memory cells. So the memory cells were the ones that were able to identify, you know what, we've seen this virus before. I know his game. They alert the cells, they equip the cells, so everything is better prepared to handle the virus the second time around. So that is the third level of defense. We'll just say one last look at this beautiful drawing I have here. So again, this was just meant to be an analogy to represent your immune system. I say that and now looking at it, it looks a little bit chaotic. But I will give you your own castle outline so that you can make your own drawing here. I should probably save this first. With everyone. I will give you your own outline so that if you have this Paint 3D, it's like the most basic program, but it's fun. Well, maybe it's just fun for me. But you can make your own drawings on there. It's kind of cool to just do your own thing, make your own graphic representing your immune system. And then you'll also have this PowerPoint on Schoology. Again, if it's really helpful to kind of go through and get the main idea, and then also click on the words that you just need a little bit more detail on. So I know I went through this part pretty fast. Just wanted to give you an overview. You'll have these materials on Schoology to look at yourself and to study. And then tomorrow, we're going to probably just ask some questions to see how you are understanding everything, to see if maybe there's an area that we need to touch on with a little bit more detail. So that is it for me. Thanks for hanging in there and listening to me and looking at my drawing. I can't even give it an adjective right now. And yeah, hope you guys are doing well, and we'll talk to you soon.